Welcome. What is up? Welcome to This Week in Mixer episode. What are we? 2.53, right? 2.53? Yes. Sure. Whatever. We'll go with that. I need to start putting that in my notes. I did prep this week, so expect a marginally less crap show. I am Rob, or RC, as I'm trying to be called, joined by co-host Jeff here. Jeff, how you doing, buddy? It's
I'm
Thursday.
good. How are you doing?
Great, great. I got stood up yesterday, but that's okay. My ego can handle it. Um, you gotta, you gotta. I mean, that's what the big timers do. They make it work for the talent. So I got to do that.
That was my fault. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good, man. All right. So um, right off the start, let's talk baseball. Right? It's everybody's favorite topic. Did you by chance watch the um what was it, the summer of 98, I think is what the 30 for 30 was called. This isn't on the show notes, but I was just curious if you saw it.
I did not. So I'll be completely honest. The 30 for 30s are great, and I think they do an amazing job on them. I rarely actually watch one though.
Hmm.
They just
Well,
don't interest me usually.
huh. Yeah, that's fair. Usually I watch, like, the big ones. Um but there's no sports, so I got to get
Yeah,
my fix somehow. So I've just been watching everyone um that's been coming out. It was okay. It just, like, I don't know. It like tried to just glorify the home run race,
yeah,
really. But it also tried to, like, lightly dabble in the steroid accusations and that sort of thing. So I
right.
almost felt like it should have picked a lane, like either just cover the home run race and be like, remember this dinger, remember this dinger, remember this dinger, and just like talk about the good times and then just not even address the steroid thing, or take it. Would have been better if they could have, like, done a heavy approach on the steroid era, what it meant to baseball and all
Yeah,
that. I mean, there's not enough time. They probably could have done like a three parter or something if they went that route. But to get
right.
the participation of McGuire and Sosa, and if I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a better job. It was the defining moment in my childhood, that '98 home run race. So I was a little bummed, little
Yeah.
bummed.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that you kind of touched on it there. Like, I think that's one of the reasons I personally wasn't like all that excited for it was while I remember that very fondly, like it was a lot of fun that season, especially watching, McGuire go crazy, Sosa go crazy. It was like every day, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, but
and Griffey too. Griffey was,
yeah,
like, right in it up until they had like 50 home runs or something, and then
yep.
they pulled away.
But like neither one of them did I ever really like. Um, McGuire was never really the most likable guy, at least for me. And Sammy he was more likable, but I think I don't know. There's just something about him that maybe it was after his career or like, the corked bat thing later on
Yeah, that was.
that like I wasn't a fan of. But also how like, the guy that I really liked out of like the whole steroid group in Barry, right? Who was the best baseball player out of any of them.
Mhm.
Uh, McGuire and McGuire gets off on the steroid thing all the time, right? Like he was literally found with a bottle of stuff in his locker. You know what I mean? And he gets kind of like not a pass, right? Like everyone acknowledges that he took it. It's definitely hurt him in like people's eyes, like after the fact.
Yeah,
But like his career didn't end because of it. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
like arguably the greatest baseball player of the last since Willie Mays, or if you want to
Bonds.
go before that, since Babe Ruth, like Barry Bonds' career ended because of like steroid stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm a little bitter about that because I love Barry so much, like as a player.
Hmm. You're not going to
And
get
so
much
like,
sympathy in San Diego with that take, but
huh?
I said you're not going to get much empathy or sympathy in San Diego with that take.
I get that, but yeah, I think it's more like I think the lack of excitement for that documentary for me is more about like my like bitterness about Barry's career ending the way it did.
You know what my favorite Barry Bonds memory is?
What?
Him getting robbed of hitting the first dinger in Petco. It was like opening night. He smacked one, and I can't remember who the outfielder was, but snagged it from over the wall. One of the few, that's a sign of San Diego sports where that's like one of the fondest memories. An opening day home run getting snagged.
Oh man.
Anyway, yeah, but I mean, undoubtedly, Barry was a special talent. The whole steroid era is just jacked up, and I think I mean, the way it's been handled and covered, and I don't know, the MLB like trying to pretend like it never existed, really, besides by not letting those players in the Hall of Fame. You know, it's just been mishandled.
Yeah.
Similarly, good transition. The MLB is a shit show right now. Let's just recap the last week. So in the last week, Rob Manfred, I mean, he said at some point last week he guaranteed there was going to be a 2020 season. Now, a few days ago, he said he had zero confidence in the MLBPA and their negotiations, and basically didn't know if there was going to be a season. They're playing out the negotiations on social media. It seems players are saying something. The owners are making their announcements on social media. Basically, what it boils down to is that owners are trying to get out of paying. They're trying to pay as little as possible, and so I mean, they haven't come out and said it, but all their tactics seem like they're going to try to play the minimum number of games possible. But they do have the option to impose a 50-game season. However, that requires a 75% vote, and if they impose the season without coming to an agreement with the MLB BPA first, they think the players are going to file a grievance, and then they're going to have to pay more. So the owners are really kind of I mean, not to say they're put in a bind, they're billionaires, but they basically have to present something that the players will accept, which they're going to have to pay them more, or run the risk of whatever the outcome of the grievance is going to be.
Yeah.
So I guess yesterday there was some a talk between the head of the MLBPA and Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred thought it went well. The players, I mean, they thought the rep of the players thought it went well. I mean, it sounded like Manfred thought they reached an agreement, and the Players Association was like, no.
Yeah, I read about that was that like kind of like Manfred thought they'd reached an agreement, and then I read something else that the players hadn't even seen what they had talked about yet.
Yeah.
Like, how could you think you had an agreement?
Sounds about right. And then you got Fauci going on record lately. He's saying that baseball needs to end by August if it's going to get their season in his estimations. So, I mean, it just the irony is baseball is the sport that is like the easiest to maintain like social distancing and like reduce infections on, at least the way the game is played and the way practices are held, because it's not like a contact sport, right? You know what I mean? Everybody's at a distance. The batter and the catcher are like, the closest together. So, and there's no sports right now. If baseball would have got out ahead of this, they'd be the only show in town, basically. Yeah. And some of the proposals they had sounded freaking sweet. Like redoing the realigning like the divisions and something for one-offs, like the playoffs format changing up. I was really excited, but they just can't think of it in the long run. And I don't know if it's symptomatic
Well,
of owners. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that the biggest problem here, from what I've read, is that the owners are starting collective bargaining negotiations right now. And because their collective bargaining agreement is up, I think at the end of next year or like in a couple years.
Mhm.
And it's well known that the owners want to lower salaries. They want to put a salary cap on in the league.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been what the players are fighting back against, right? Like the players don't want less money, right? So that's why, the players initially agreed to a prorated salary, right? For whatever games we play, just, prorate it so that it matches what our full game salary would be, right?
Hmm.
And then ever since then, the owners have tried to lower it. And
Hmm.
now from what I've read, it's all been about like something about like 33% of what they would normally make or whatever. And um, like someone put it to me the other day that like if they play, like the first one was like if they play 70 games, right, or 60 games,
Yeah, the numbers keep changing.
right, like that's like over a third of the season, you
Hmm.
know
And then they're
and
only getting a third of the pay.
yeah, and it just hasn't matched up numbers wise.
Yeah.
And everything I've read, it seems like the owners want to start their negotiations early, and that Rob Manfred is a terrible commissioner.
Yeah.
Like literally the worst commissioner ever. Like I think even if you put Goodell as commissioner, he figures a way to get them on the field,
Shots fired.
right? Like I think that you know Adam Silver would have had them on the field in May
Yeah.
in spring training, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like he would have been smart enough to be like, "Hey guys, we're the only thing around. Like let's figure this out.
Hmm.
Whatever we have to do." Um, I think that, and like you said, I think everyone's in it right now. They're trying to win these negotiations short term, right? So that they can win it in the long term. But
Hmm.
with the way things are going and how MLB is progressing, like that long term might not be as long as they think it's going to be anymore.
I don't know how the owners really expect this one-off season to have any bearing over the future negotiations.
I think they think if they can get them to agree to it now, they can get them to agree to it in the CBA
Yeah,
because
I
there's
suppose
already
you're right.
precedent for it, right? So,
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting situation, and I think it's just another example of a sport stubbing its toe when the opportunity was there. People are starved for sports. They're watching the KBO. Um, and even if they do get it right and they go back on the field, it's still going to be a challenge to manage it, like during during the pandemic with no fans. How are they going to test the players? What are they going to do if there's an outbreak? Like, I hear what they're doing in the KBO, and it is just it is to keep that um, league going in Korea. They're like isolating the players. They're doing tests all the time. They have some sort of app where they have to log their temperature scans regularly, and then plus they have to do the tests. And I just don't know how, you know, players in the U.S. are gonna submit to that kind of, just that level of monitoring.
yeah,
Uh, they're used to being privileged basically as athletes.
right.
Whereas Korea, it's a different culture in general. And those guys are really like scrapping it out. I mean, I'm sure they make good money,
Yeah,
uh, but it's nowhere near what these U.S.
MLB.
players make.
Yeah.
And if you're out there feeling sympathetic for the owners, check yourself, because I think it was on Pardon My Take, they said that you have the Marlins, right? The Marlins have been like not necessarily the laughing stock, but they have next to zero fans in
Yeah.
the crowd for years, and they said they couldn't pay their players, and then they signed Giancarlo Stanton, right, to a huge deal, sold the team, and then the owner made $1 billion profit
Yep.
for like arguably the team with like the worst attendance and maybe in the worst financial situation, but hey, I mean they dumped Will Myers, so maybe they don't make
They dump
terrible
Will.
decisions everywhere. Anyway, so I mean that's enough baseball. Well, I guess final question: will there be baseball this year? Do you think there's going to be baseball this year?
Yeah, I think there's something. Will I watch it? Will I think it's any good? I have no
Do
clue,
you think
but
there will be a World Series?
yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. It's. I guess if I had to make a call, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. If they were laying the odds out, like obviously the favorite is probably that there is some sort of season.
Yeah.
I want to put my chips on the longer odds and play the option that there is no season, because I just have zero confidence in them being able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I also have zero confidence in the country in general to manage the pandemic. So that's where my money's at. In the world though, sports are kind of back. The EPL, the Premier League, was back yesterday.
Yeah.
I took a look at the table and I was like, what's the point? I knew that Liverpool had a huge lead. And the only other reason why I would want to watch is Arsenal. There is a kind of a nice mid-table battle going on, but then Arsenal got smoked yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
So that's how I know Manchester City won, and that's how I know the title, it will not be clinched for at least 2 more games. But I mean, I don't know. It's I need to catch a game. But are you excited at all for the Premier League being back?
I am. I didn't get to watch the games yesterday,
Mhm.
but I am excited for it to come back. It's
It's almost like the Premier League finish is like the new summer league.
yeah,
There's no random cup games like the ICC and the Capital One Cup or whatever the hell they're all called. The ones that
right.
Arsenal always wins, the preseason trebles. So, I mean, they're usually in top form this time of year. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll work out. There's just a tune-up game against City. Maybe light a fire under them. Champions League is back in August. They have a kind of a mix-up format. I don't know if, because they're still in the round of 16, right? So I think the round of 16 is still going to be a home and away. I'm not entirely sure, but it did say the quarters, the semis, and the final is just going to be a straight win or lose
Yeah,
on neutral or home sites. I think I don't know. I didn't. It seemed like there was some confusion on exactly how some of the games were going to be, but it sounds like most of them are going to be played on neutral sites. Uh, so that'll be good. Seeing top flight footballers at it. I am excited for that.
yeah, me too. I mean, the Premier League is always fun, right?
Yeah.
So,
And then back domestically, NFL, Fauci said today that there may not be a football season. Shocker. And Zeke got the Rona.
yeah,
So the Cowboys were, I don't know if Zeke was involved, but I know there was some stuff going on social media where Cowboys players were partying during quarantine. So I'm not sure if that played into it. I don't know if Zeke's even hanging out in the Dallas area. But yeah, I would say he's probably the highest profile player who's tested positive in the NFL so far. By everything I hear, it sounds like he's doing fine.
Yeah, what I read was that he was asymptomatic.
Yeah. So, and then there's like questions on, what level of immunity do they have and all that. So, I guess just the bigger topic to cover is how are leagues going to manage when these players test positive? We have the NBA coming back. There's it's already been an issue in the NFL before when players come down with something and passing it on and infecting the whole team. Like, I think it was last year, the Patriots had to take separate planes to one of their games because they had a really bad flu bug going on through the team. And this virus is really contagious. Football, you have a 53-man roster. You have these stories of, 16 people coming down with it from one person spreading it at going to church or like family parties. These guys are going to be in close proximity, like 5 days a week, working out hard, breathing heavy. Outbreaks are going to happen. How are they going to manage it? Is it time to invest in shredder masks, Jeff?
I mean, it might be. I think. I mean, it's tough the way they manage it. I think you kind of just have to, you kind of just got to let everyone play. If someone tests positive, then I think you monitor everyone and you just try to have resources available. But if guys are going to play, like, you can't get rid of the risk, right? Like, the risk is going to be there. I think players understand that. I think, families understand that. I think that's why, like, we're seeing, like, in basketball, you're hearing that more and more players don't want to play.
Yeah.
Right. And I think part of that has to do with, like, they were supposed to be in a bubble, right? And there's really supposed to be no one in and out. And then it came out that, well, there's going to be Disney employees coming in and out. Yeah. And I think, like, players are worried about that kind of stuff, I think football, see, one of the tough things with football is they don't have, I mean, the closest thing they could do is maybe go to, like, LA or something, but, like, they don't have a place that has, like,
all the facilities.
Yeah. So everyone's going to kind of have to be, like, on their own in their own city, right? Yeah. And then you just travel like normal. So I think with football,
that'd be ironic.
Yeah.
LA hasn't had a football presence for years, and then now it would be the center of the football universe.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think is, like, you move everyone, like, to the West Coast or something, right? So then you have, like, some people in Seattle, some people in San Francisco, some people in Vegas, and then people in LA, right? And even San Diego if you need to. Because there's so many football stadiums out here, right? But there's none in, like, you don't have, like, 8 in one city, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think, like, if you're football, I think you kind of have to go along with things as they would be normally and just be really proactive. And just, it might have to be a thing where, like, if guys test positive, even if they're not showing symptoms, like, they don't play for 2 weeks. Something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think football will happen. I think we're still far enough out.
Yeah. I don't know.
Figure it out, but
I have a very negative outlook on this in general. I think there's enough parties that want to make sure some form of the NFL happens that it's that there's going to be something. I don't know if it's full season, reduced season, and how they're going to manage it. I almost feel like the leagues need to get players to sign NDAs. I don't know the legal obligations regarding that, but I mean, I just feel like it's going to be a media circus, basically, more so than normal, about mismanagement, about poor conditions for the players, and yeah, we're probably gonna have a lot of content, so we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about, which I'm excited about, kind of selfishly, but yeah, it's gonna be wild. I mean, I keep telling people at work, we're working from home. They're acting like we're gonna be back in a few weeks. I'm like, guys, we're just getting started. This is gonna be a while. Like we're at the quarter pole. If this was a freaking horse race, was that the quarter pole when you first turn the corner? I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, I mean, we're just getting started. So more to come on that. I'm sure it's gonna be a topic for a while. Oh, one last thing, I did see that the SEC is planning to, full steam ahead. We're gonna have classes in the fall, full practices and all that for football, packed stadiums. That's what they're operating on the assumption of now. So what could possibly go wrong? Yeah. This is fine, dog. I need that plush. He needs to be our mascot. Unlike my new microphone. By the way, I just want to comment on this. Has there ever been a more obvious big sim control device than this guy? I mean, he looks like Sputnik, which was the first sign of the machines taking over, right? How does Sputnik fly? Like that?
Something like that.
Or is it like this? The things go in front? Anyway, a Best Buy purchase. So far, I am happy with it. Although a sleazy sales manager did try to upsell me on a twice as expensive microphone. I know their tactics. I told them to kick rocks. I'm going to get this one.
Are you going to call the sales manager out?
He knows who he is. I'm not here to name names. I'm sure the truth will come out.
All right.
But I mean, I'm happy with my purchase. Ironically, I don't buy everything from Best Buy, confession. But this mic, the laptop I'm using, and my table, which happens to be the freezer that said sales manager helped me loot from another customer, all Best Buy purchases. So
nice.
This Week in Mixer brought to you by Best Buy. Thank you for your service, essential workers of Best Buy. So, moving on to our next topic, we call it This Week in Racism. It's everybody's favorite topic. Roger Goodell encouraging teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. Still unsigned. Yesterday, I think, Anthony Lynn, the head coach of your Los Angeles Chargers of the mega market, said that he was on their emergency quarterback list or something, which isn't an actual list that exists. So there were a lot of headlines out there that said Anthony Lynn wants to work out Colin Kaepernick. And if you read his comments, they actually said, well, yeah, if we needed a quarterback, we'd be foolish not to consider him, basically is what he said.
Yeah.
So there is obviously a concerted effort of the media to get that story out there, but it doesn't sound like the Chargers are all that interested, which is kind of a bummer. It does sound like Pete Carroll's interested, which you did call last week. I've seen some Texans rumors. What do you think? Is Cap going to land somewhere? Is this all just media pushed and he's just too far removed from the league for anybody to take a chance on him?
I mean, I think he lands somewhere if he wants to. I think at the end of the day, I'd say it's like 60-40 he'll play or he'll be on a team. And the only reason I say 40% is 40% he might not be is because he just may not want to play, right? But I've heard he's working out. I've heard he's like, he's from everything you've read, he's stayed in shape, right? He just he had his workout. What was that, last year, I think? So I think more likely than not, he wants to play. Now, does he get the right offer? Does he, is the city that the team that's offering him, is it a team he wants to go to? I think that's going to be the tough part, right? I think there's 3 teams that make a lot of sense in my mind. That's Seattle is number 1, right? He goes there, he gets to back up Russ. If Russ gets hurt, he seems like he'd be a good fit in that offense, the way they run it and everything. The other one is Baltimore. I don't think they have a real backup for Lamar.
RG3.
Huh?
They have RG3.
Yeah, so they still don't have a real backup for Lamar. Kaepernick's obviously not Lamar, but he, has a similar style, right? You could fit him into that offense without making too many changes.
You don't have any faith in Bobby Nonies?
That's the problem. Is like if he could play, if you told me he could be healthy for 16 games, cool, make him a starter.
Yeah.
Right, but I just don't think he can.
Imagine the formations they could run with Lamar Jackson, RG3, and Kaepernick.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's get weird.
I also think Houston's a decent landing spot, right? Deshaun Watson. I'm not the biggest Bill O'Brien fan, but he's not terrible. I don't think he's great, but he's not terrible. I think that would be a decent landing spot. And then there's, with any quarterback right now, there's that's halfway decent. New England always looks like a good landing spot, right? So you've got Cam that's still available for there. You got Kaepernick. I don't think New England signs Kaepernick. They have too many 3%ers on the team. It just wouldn't make sense. But it's not a New England type move, right? But I think those are the 3 teams that I think make sense in my mind. I don't think the Chargers make sense because they just drafted a quarterback, right? Like, you have Tyrod. Why are you drafted a guy 6th overall or whatever. Why are you going to bring in another guy to challenge, right? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Plus, they have Easton Stick, who, first of all, tier 1 sports name. Second of all, fans like him. So, I don't know. And I think they did give him like a decent contract as well, not just the league minimum.
Yeah.
I would like to see him there. They could probably double the PSLs by just signing Kaepernick, even bringing him for training camp. But
they're going to double it from like 10 to 20?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the joke's there. You have to take it, but I did think about that. Anywho, it'll be a topic that we're covering throughout the preseason, however long that lasts. And I hope he does end up somewhere, and I hope that he's doing everything he can to make a comeback, because I'm a proponent of gambling on yourself and really trying to go for it. And the Gretzky adage, you miss all the shots you don't take. So, Cap, I know you're watching. Go for it, buddy. Last topic, really. This is called this is our we jerk each other off segment. Coach Doug's is in the Natty tonight. Pardon my take. NCAA 2K14, Tennessee versus Miami, the U. Oh man, those colors on the field. I saw the draw and I got excited over a virtual game. Are you as pumped as I am?
I'm definitely not as pumped as you are, but I am excited for it.
Man, I still want a copy. Um, I would pay probably up to $70 for a copy, but I think it only plays on Xbox 360, so I'd have to bust out my 360. They
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna say it's not a Xbox One or
compatible.
a PS4 thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, and God, man, the gaming industry is just they're criminals too, not making these things backwards compatible. Bastards. Bastards. They make you hang on to your old system just to play your old games. Maybe there's mods and stuff I can look into, but I'm not all that technical. Maybe that sleazy manager at Best Buy has some connects that can set me up. Okay, those are the main topics. I just wanted to almost feel like now I guess we could just roll this in. I was thinking about recording a quick other segment, but um, and doing a separate video. Uh, Hopefully you guys made it to the end here. I will know if you guys bring it up. Show. So we want to go over some show announcements. Jeffrey,
RC.
we've had we've had some talks about maybe rebranding the show to appeal to a larger audience. I think now is the time to make that transition. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm thinking about renaming the show. So this maybe next episode will be our last this week in the mixer, and then we'd unveil a new show name. Some names being considered. The one that I like is the Gauntlet because we have all our props right, and I kind of want to design. I mean, my big idea for whatever this is to design, like a sports hub where we kind of tie in the excitement that we all have for fantasy football, but year round, basically through like these prop events. And so my idea would be to cover each one, have some sort of challenge like our prop sheets, and keep it rolling, basically to mirror what the mixer is. Maybe title it something else that appeals to bigger audience because I do want to grow this thing. So I'm leaning on the Gauntlet. I did some design for the YouTube channel. It should have a new banner, so check that out. Let me know what you think. Is it dumb? Is it cheesy? Is there something better? I'm open-minded. And then still got to decide. We need to do our Big Sim episode, our expose on the simulation. Can we?
On Sean.
Yeah, okay, that's gonna be part of it. Where is this guy? Ever since the pandemic hit, he's MIA. Is he too busy running the algorithms for the pandemic and all the social injustices going out that he can't even check in on the mixer to make sure we're safe? Hashtag not my champ, not my champ, not my two-time champ. He's a fraud. Yeah, and I mean, there's not much else to say on him, but yeah, man, I'm thinking before sports really get going, next week would be good to do our Big Sim expose. We'll talk. What is simulation theory? How do you feel about it? What are your theories and maybe the history? I'm gonna do some research. So yeah, I want to do that next week, and maybe that'll be the last episode of this week in the mixer. I feel like it's appropriate. We could put a nice little bow on that, and maybe just sprinkle it in on the new show as needed. Are you on board? Are you ready for this ride, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
All right, awesome. So that's coming, guys. That is going to be it for now. be ready for next week. It's gonna get real, and yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to being that much more legit here. With I need a nickname for my microphone. Feel free to submit ideas. The more Big Sim overlords, kind of nicknames you could come up with, the better. We good? You good? Anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
Let's get it. Mixer, Jeff, be well. Stay safe, everybody. See you next week.
See ya.
Later.